Hey, welcome. If you are just tuning in on Facebook, today we will be using a strap or a scarf or a belt, something to extend our arms and help us get into our legs, because today we'll be freeing up some tight muscles in your legs. And so I'll invite you here just to bring yourself into a seat, maybe with your sit bones lifted slightly on a blanket or a block. And as you find your comfortable seat, bring yourself into a space where your spine is able to lengthen, where you can invite your shoulders to consciously soften, your eyes to close, and your awareness to shift into this inner landscape of the self. Let yourself breathe fully here. Breathe easily. Noticing as your eyes close the spaces that your breath is able to move easily. The spaces of your body that feel good, that might even have a lack of sensation because they're not really talking to you. And contrasting that with the areas of your body that might be holding some tightness or tension this morning. As you continue to lengthen and deepen each breath, you might feel a bit of resistance in those areas. Breathing fully here. Begin to seek those small spaces between each inhale and each exhale. See if you can invite those small spaces between each breath to encourage you to find those small spaces between the thoughts in your mind, those moments of stillness within. And as you're ready here, draw both hands towards each other, finding Anjali Mudra. A nice big inhale. A full and complete exhale. And we'll invite the breath in to take the sound of Om. Feel free to join in chanting or to say it to yourself in your mind. Om. Releasing the air out of your body. Begin to bring your hands down. Drop your chin in and invite your eyes to open here. We'll begin with a simple seated spinal movement. Inhale, begin to lean forward and to look up. And as you exhale, find that rounding inwards as you look down. Let these movements flow with your natural breath. Each inhale, lengthening forward, arching your spine. Each exhale, rounding backwards, pressing the center of your shoulder blades as you tuck your chin in. And just finding your own rhythm here, maybe even closing your eyes to keep that awareness of the internal experience at the forefront of your mind. Good. We're going to keep this movement, this forward and backwards of our seated Chakravarkasana, but just draw your hands towards each other, towards your ankles, if you're in a cross-legged position. And you'll notice that this sensation of movement travels up now, centering more in your neck and your shoulders. And continue to invite this full body movement, this breath into each vertebrae as you inhale, leaning forward, looking up. And exhale, rounding inwards and looking down. And next breath, let's bring ourselves to a nice long spine. Settle your hands back onto your knees if you're in this cross-legged position. Just find a very gentle side-to-side movement, just freeing up the side body. And as you lean side to side, you might even rotate your gaze, looking to the side that you're leaning away from, inviting a little bit of this movement up into your neck. And if you're choosing this side-to-side movement of your head, see if you can find either a smile or just some space between your lips here. So either smiling, allowing that joyfulness to come inwards, or just a little bit of space between your back teeth, between your tongue and the roof of your mouth. A few more times side to side here, moving with your breath. Good, bringing ourselves back towards center. As we come towards center, we'll transition now to our back body. So coming to your back, I'd like you to make sure that you have your scarf or belt or strap, whatever you're using. And I'm realizing that I'm a little bit close. We're just going to back up the camera a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so coming to your back body here, we'll start with your knees bent. Feet are hips width distance apart on the ground. Just take a moment here as you lie down. Find your chin tucking inwards. And yes, we are working into legs, but first I'd like you to bring an awareness to the way that your back body is meeting the ground here, to how that feels. Feel your spine nice and long. We'll just begin to find a little bit of nutation into the pelvis. So what that means is you're just going to tilt your hips ever so slightly here so that your tailbone points down towards the ground. That's going to create a light arch in your low back. Now my hips are not leaving the ground. Keep your hips down as you do the opposite action, just tilting your tailbone up and in. Just moving between these two. These are called pelvic nutations. Really tiny movements of your tailbone. And you can feel this working into your lumbar spine, which is deeply connected to our hips, to our legs, all these muscles really tying in with each other. So as we release into one, very often we'll receive those benefits in another. So playing here with releasing into your legs, which is also going to give many of us lightness and an easing off of tension in our back. So we're going to pause this pelvic nutation now. Let your pelvis come into a neutral position. And just bring one knee in towards your chest. Interlace your fingers behind that thigh. Find a movement of your toes. So wiggling into each toe as this leg extends upwards. Opposite leg is going to stay bent right now. This is an easing into this movement. So with this leg staying bent, we're really inviting all of these muscles to open in their own time without any force. And so coming from our movement into the toes into a pointing and a flexing of your lifted foot. And that's going to bring a little bit more sensation into the top of your foot, to the muscles on the front of your legs, specifically in your ankles. And then also you're going to start to feel sensation coming into these big back muscles of your leg, into your calves, into your hamstrings. And just staying present for what's here. Releasing any story that your mind spins about what tightness in your leg means. Releasing any story about having a bad hip or a bad knee. Just let yourself be here, feeling what is here to be felt. Continuing to make space for your breath. Let's bring our foot into stillness here. Take your hands away from the back of your leg if you're giving that support. Keep your foot lifted here and just begin to lengthen into those muscles in the back of your leg. We're going to lengthen by pressing through that lifted heel. Draw your toes inward so that the sole of your foot is parallel to the ceiling here. Good. Might stay here, hands down by your side, or you might take a sweep up and back of your arms, stretching behind you. On an exhale, with your breath, very slowly lower your foot down to the ground. And if those arms are back behind you, we'll slowly reach up and lower both hands down by our sides. Playing this game in which we try to land the heel and the palms of each hand at the exact same moment. And that moment being at the very bottom of your exhale. And then pausing here. Take a full breath in all the way down to the toes of the leg that you were just working with, all the way down to your 10 fingertips. And on your next inhale, let's bend into this knee. Take your opposite knee in towards your chest, looping your hands behind that thigh. We'll do the same thing on this side. Find some movement into your toes. A little bit of a wiggle here. Try to invite movement into each toe. A little harder, a little harder to do than it should be. And then for moving into the toes, we'll come into our pointing and our flexing of our lifted leg. And just staying present here, present with your breath, present with how these movements feel in the bigger muscles of your leg and your foot. And present with that soundtrack of the mind, just observing without getting hooked into any thoughts that are moving. And here we'll invite the hands down. Keep your leg lifted as you find that extra activation in those muscles in the back of your leg. Getting there by pressing up through this lifted heel, keeping your toes drawing in. Sole of your foot parallel to the ceiling here. And maybe you'll take that upward lift and reach, stretching back through your 10 fingers, creating an L shape of the body here. Good, and preparing nice big inhale here. Let your exhale begin to gently guide your foot down, your hands down if you took that option to stretch up and behind you. And as everything lands, give yourself the gift of a full, complete breath in, of an emptying exhale out. And then inviting this leg in, settling the sole of your foot down, pointing that knee upwards, grabbing now for your weighting belt or strap or scarf. Coming back to our first leg, bring your knee inwards, loop your scarf around the ball of your foot, taking care to keep your scarf out of the center arch of your foot. And as your strap comes to the ball of your foot, straighten your legs here, giving yourself enough length on either side so that your elbows can rest easily on the ground. So what we don't want is to be pulling the shoulders and the head and the elbows away from the ground. You want to be able to snuggle your shoulders in towards each other, resting the full top of your arm down, shoulders to elbows. And then here, we'll find again that lengthening sensation. So action here is spreading your lifted foot, spreading those 5 toes away from each other, pressing through your heel. And then breathing into this stretch. Here's where, because we have found a little bit of heat and opening in the back of our leg, here's where you might take that other foot, extending that leg long. And if you do choose to lengthen that leg, envisioning that you can press your thigh into the ground. That's a long leg. That might not happen, but you can still make that intention and receive the benefits that come from making that intention. Nice breaths here. Breathing to open into this lifted leg. Using that connection between your strap and the ball of your foot to keep encouraging your toes to draw towards the knee of your lifted leg. Sole of your foot stays parallel to the ceiling, opposite of pointing the toes upwards. That's a very different stretch. Let's take both ends of your strap into the same hand as the leg that's lifted. Bring your opposite hand to the thigh of your leg that's lengthened and lowered down onto the ground. Keep that thigh pressing down towards the ground as you begin to open your foot to the side. Now we want to stay at about 80% of what you could do here. And I say 80% because we're going to hold and we're going to breathe as we open to the side. What tends to happen when we go to that 100% mark of the body's ability is we're not able to sustain the stretch for quite as long as we could than if we went to about 80. So go to about 80% of what you could do. And then just drop into your breath. Let yourself feel those small movements as your muscles slowly start to unstitch, releasing their held tension as you breathe fully into this asana. One more full breath here, noticing where your mind goes when we come into stillness, into silence. On an inhale, begin to guide your leg back straight up and down. Inviting once more each end of your strap to each hand. And then here we'll place both ends of your strap into your opposite hand. Take the hand that was holding your strap a moment ago, bring that hand down where your glutes meet the ground. So we're going to make a few alignment cues here to really get into the stretch that we're looking for. Alignment cue number 1 is we're going to keep this connection between our glutes and the ground. So what that means is we're not going to let our hips pull up and away from the ground as we go across the body. Second alignment cues, you want to keep pressing up through your lifted heel. It's going to keep that length in this leg. And so keeping all those alignment cues very gently, begin to guide your leg towards your midline and across your midline. Now, for a lot of us, this tends to be a really intense stretch. This is an area that we're not able to get into in our day-to-day lives. So for you, the movement might look very minimal. Might look very minimal on the outside, but on the inside, you're probably feeling that extension and stretch. And so again, coming to 80%, not 100%, 80%, because we want to stay, we want to breathe. And sometimes when we get into these more challenging sensations in the body, the mind wants to give us something else to do. So the mind will start to make to-do lists or daydream or remember something that's suddenly extremely important. Let yourself stay with your breath here. Stay with your breath, stay with sensation. What you might find is that your leg starts to open even more. Your next inhale, begin to guide your leg back towards center. As your leg comes back towards center, again, inviting one end of each strap into each hand. We're going to do a single movement here. So keep one end of your strap in each hand. Keep that alignment action of pressing through your lifted heel. Going to guide your leg out to its side. We're just making the shape of a parenthesis here. So we're guiding out towards the side, then back inwards towards your midline. One time, one little half circle here. What you've done is you've rooted your leg more fully in your hip socket here. And you've also guided it closer to your torso, intensifying this stretch into the muscles in the back of your leg. So nice deep breathing here. Here, if you have that strap, unless you're not using a strap or a block here, we'll guide our strap blocker belt gently off the foot. Move the cat from in front of the camera and then very gently guide your straight leg all the way down to the ground. Gently all the way down. As your leg lands, place your hand on the hip flexor, this leg that was just lifted. So what you're feeling for is that bony area of the hip. Settle the palm of your hand there, fingers pointing down towards your thigh, and just take a long breath here. Easy breathing, feeling into all of that opening that you just created in this leg. Nice full breaths. You might even find a little bit of windshield wiper movement on this long leg, moving the toes side to side and letting that movement radiate upwards all the way up into your hip. Good. Next breath, let's bend into both knees, settling both feet back firmly onto the ground. Reaching once more for your strap. Draw now your opposite leg in, looping the strap around the ball of your foot. And again, taking care to keep the strap out of your foot's arch, keeping it in that ball of your foot as you press your leg upwards. Root your shoulder blades in towards each other in your back body. Keep your elbows soft on the floor. as you breathe into this extension. And always the option to keep this opposite leg bent, or if you'd like that extra oomph to your stretch, just lengthen your other leg long with the intention of rooting that thigh down towards the ground. And here's where the real challenge happens when we come into this stillness, when we come into a simple awareness of breath and sensation. Inviting here both ends of your strap into the same hand as your lifted leg. Opposite hand is going to press onto the thigh of your leg if it's long on the ground. Keep that alignment pressing up through your heel with your toes drawing in towards your knee. Just begin to open to the side. A little or a lot. Remember, what's more important than the outward look of each of these asanas is how it feels in your body. Find somewhere an angle to the side that's sustainable. Somewhere where you can stay and breathe. Keep pressing through this lifted heel. And you'll start to feel those small movements, those little subtle releases as your muscles warm and lengthen. And then next, inhale very gently, begin to guide your leg back towards center. And as we prepare to do our second side, we'll really keep these alignment cues, this upward pressing through your heel as you switch your strap into your opposite hand. And that rooting down through your glutes, through your bottom and the floor beneath you as you begin to cross your foot over your midline. And again, this doesn't need to be a huge outward movement to be effective. Let yourself stay with sensation here. Don't lose that pressing out through your heel. Stretch suddenly becomes easier when we do. Keep that action. And next inhale, very gently guide your leg towards center. Taking once more a strap into each hand. That action of pressing through your heel as you lightly guide your leg out to one side. Making that other parenthesis, arcing outwards and then back inwards, closer to your torso. Big, full yogi breaths here. And then we'll gently release your strap from the sole of your foot. With control, lower your foot very gently down towards the ground. As your foot lands, settle the palm of your hand up onto that hip point. Palm of your hand down, fingers pointing towards your ankle. And just this gentle warmth and weight of the palm of your hand is very cooling. It's very calming for the body. And breathing into your long leg. Maybe your leg wants to rest in stillness, or maybe you want to find that little side to side movement, that little windshield wiper movement on your heel, rocking your toes from right to left, rocking all the way up into your femur. And then releasing that movement. Bringing yourself back into both knees bent, both feet settled, hips with distance onto the floor. Crossing here, right ankle over left knee. Let's find out windshield wiper movement now into the left foot and knee, rocking side to side. Rocking here into our right hip. And just let yourself stay present with any sensations that are available to you here as you rock side to side. If you are feeling a lot of tightness in your hip, this might be where you stay. Moving side to side, inviting a gentle opening. If you'd like some more opening, let's still this movement side to side. We're going to lift your left heel away from the ground, interlace your fingers behind your left thigh. Good, now with our lifted leg, even here, you want to keep that action of pressing through your heel, keep your toes drawing towards the knee of your lifted leg. What this is going to do is it's really going to protect your knee as we bring ourselves into this deeper stretch of our hips. So we have a few options here as you draw your left thigh inward. So option one, if you straighten into your left heel, it's actually going to ease off a little bit on that stretch into your right hip. Keep your left heel drawing inwards. If you'd like a little bit more stretch into your lifted hip, interlace your fingers on the front of your left shin instead of behind that knee and behind that thigh. And so just playing here, finding something that is sustainable for you to really close your eyes and dive into sensation. And so just meet yourself exactly where you are today with exactly what you need. Feel your breath moving through your body as you hold this seat of the body, this asana. As you exhale next, bringing your foot very gently down towards the ground if it's not there already. Uncross your ankle from your knee, draw that foot forwards, and then invite your knee in towards your chest. Fingers could be interlaced here in front of your shin or behind your thigh. Gently guide your right knee side to side, moving into this lateral movement side to side. And the next time your foot is moving back through your midline, release your foot down towards the ground. Same leg now, you're just gonna knock that right knee off to one side. And so it's a half butterfly pose here. Might stay hands on your belly by your sides. Might take that action of resting your hand on your hip flexor. Using that warmth and weight of your hands just to encourage a simple, gentle opening here. Deep breathing here. And if your hand is on your hip flexor, let your hand rest by your side. Use an inhale, guide this knee back up towards center. We'll then take the left ankle to cross over the right knee. Press through the heel of your left foot. Keep those toes drawing back towards your knee as you begin to rock here side to side. Rocking your right foot and knee side to side. Feeling whatever sensation is present here as we begin to shift our stretch into the left hip flexors. These movements are also really good for releasing pain that happens in the sciatic. Gently moving side to side, present for any sensations that arise. And then checking in on this side, honoring the fact that we tend to use our body differently, right side, left side. Noticing perhaps on this side, this is exactly what we need. Staying here, right foot down. Or maybe we'd like to go further here. Still in that movement side to side, coming into our sleeping pigeon, lifting your right foot up, interlacing your fingers behind that thigh. And if you are choosing this option, foot lifted, remembering we've got a few options here. So you might straighten the right leg. That's a little bit of an easing off of the stretch into your left hip. Might keep that leg bent, and maybe you want a little more. Maybe you'll take your hands in front of the right thigh and right shin. Choosing whichever of these options to make the most sense for you. And then maybe closing your eyes, really going into the sensation here. Over reclining sleeping pigeon pose. Or Supta Ekapada Rajakapatasana. I know, it's a mouthful. Nice full breath here. Full and complete exhale. And the next time you breathe out, release your lifted leg down. Uncrossing ankle from knee. Let's draw your knee in towards your torso. Find that lateral movement side to side, rocking side to side into this lifted hip. Good. A few more times, side to side here. And then the next time your foot is drawing in towards your midline, release your hands so that your foot comes down to the ground. And then just open your left knee to the side, taking this half butterfly pose, maybe with your hands here resting on that hip bone. Using the weight and warmth of the palm of your hand to invite a gentle opening, gentle calming of your nervous system as you breathe deeply into the stretch. And the next inhale, let's gently guide your knee back towards center. Bring both knees here in towards your chest, grabbing in front of both shins. Peel your head and shoulders away from the ground. Make your body into a little body here, a little ball here as you rock side to side. Rocking side to side there. And then release your feet down. Release your head back down to the ground. Straighten both legs nice and long. Press through your heels as you point your 10 toes up towards the ceiling, and then sweep your arms up and behind you. Draw your shoulder blades towards each other, even as you reach out through your fingertips, out through your heels. Maybe you stretch so much, press so much into the heels that your seat lifts up and away from the ground. Take a big full body stretch here, and then release the weight of your body down. Bend enough into your elbows so that you can rest the back of your hands against the ground behind your head. That's fully uncomfortable for your shoulders. You can always have your hands down by your side. Close your eyes here. Let your body deeply rest as you breathe fully here into the shape. Nice big full inhales. Nice big full exhales. You might even play here with pressing opposite heels long. Pressing one heel long at a time. Feeling how that stretch radiates up into your side body. And then bringing your hips into neutral here. Let's settle your hands down by your side if they're not there already. Bend into both knees so that the soles of both feet come down to the ground. And then extend your arms out into the shape of a T. Rest the back of your hands on the ground by your side. Press into your heels here. Lift your hips ever so slightly. Let your hips shift to the left and then lower back down to the ground. And as your hips come to the left, drop both knees to the right. Rotate your gaze to the left, looking away from your knees. Maybe your arms stay long in this position of a T, or maybe your right hand wants to come to rest on your top knee here. Breathe deeply into the shape. And on the next inhale, releasing that hold of right hand and left knee if you've taken it. Use your in-breath to guide your knees, hips, and nose back towards center. With the back of your hands pressing down, press here into your heels. Find that light little lift of your hips. This time, hips will come to the right before lowering back to the ground. Create space for your knees to open to the left-hand side as your gaze rotates to the right. Coming into the second side of our reclining twist. Maybe that left hand wants to reach for your right knee here, inviting a little bit of a deeper twist as you pull your knee towards the ground. Maybe your arms prefer to stay straight. Let yourself just drop deeply into your breath here. And then an inhale here. If you're holding onto your top knee, release. Bringing both knees, both hips and your nose back towards center. Again, find that action of hugging your knees in towards your chest, maybe peeling shoulders and head up and away from the ground. Nice big inhale here. And as you exhale, release fully the weight of your body down. Let your heels lengthen long. Your hands rest palm up by your sides. Invite your eyes to close. And as your eyes close, let your body deeply relax here. Inviting any remaining tension to fall away. Inviting any control that you've been holding over your breath here to fall away. Feeling your mind, your body, your spirit all come deeply into this state of rest and relaxation. Knowing that in this state of rest, body and mind are fully able to integrate all of this work that we've done. Feel yourself resting here, aware of how your body meets the ground. Feeling into those points of contact between your heels and the ground, your hips and the ground, your back and shoulder blades resting down, and the weight of your head resting supported here. Into this space, becoming aware of your breath moving freely. Perhaps here, inviting a fuller inhale, a longer exhale. As you're ready, find those little movements of your body, those little wiggles into your fingers and your toes, into your wrists, into your ankles. Taking, as you're ready, a nice full body stretch, reaching fingers backwards, toes forward. Inviting your knees to your chest once more, wrapping your arms around your knees. Resting easy on one side. Using your top hand pressing down, very gently press yourself up towards the seat. Bring your palms towards each other here as you drop your chin in. Just noticing here the way your body feels. The busyness or calmness of your mind. And the way that your breath is moving in your body. And thank yourself here for making yourself a priority, for taking this time to move and to breathe